On this edition of Forever Home, we're going to talk about how to do a proper nail sweep when you've got one of these rolling nail magnets. Now, these come in 24 and 36-inch varieties, as well as little handheld jobs. There are a couple things that are very important when using this tool. Number one, when you hear a click, you got to take the nail off the bottom before it gets knocked off by the grass. Number two, make sure that you have your wheel set in such a position that your magnet is low enough to the ground that it's picking up the product that you've lost. Third thing, this does not pick up aluminum. Aluminum is not magnetic, it will not stick. So if you're using aluminum nails, if you've got aluminum cut pieces of metal that you've dropped on the ground, this is not gonna pick them up. You have to use your eyes and your fingers to find those things. I've got 10 nails here in my hand. We're gonna throw them on the ground and we're gonna see if we can find them and what happens when you don't do it the right way. Here we go. So we've got 10 nails here in my hand. We've already cleaned up this job site, but just to give you an idea kind of how this process works, we're gonna sort of sprinkle them around. Now, if I pick these up, and let's just say I keep rolling, right? And I hear those clicks, but I don't stop and take them off the bottom. And we keep walking around, and I roll this over. Let's see how many of those 10 I got back.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
9. I have 9 in my hand. I'm missing one. How am I missing one? Because one got knocked off as I was rolling across the grass, and that's how you leave nails behind. So the proper way to do a nail sweep is to make sure every time you hear a click, you stop, you take that nail off the bottom, you put it in your bucket, and then you keep going. And you're gonna find all 10, and you're not gonna lose any that way. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I found a staple. 5, 6, 7. There's 8, but that was aluminum. 9, 10, 11. So the aluminum was extra. Now let's see if we find anything else while I'm here. I'm gonna run the other direction just to be sure. All right, so I got all 10 nails back in my hand plus an extra. Now, that was just doing a very small area. When you're doing a yard for real, you really have to be systematic about that sweep pattern. So if you're going up and back, it's one thing to do all your paved surfaces first, and I like to do that so we don't risk customer driving over a nail. But again, that has to be very strategic. Up the driveway down one edge, turn around, overlap your tire track just a little bit, go back the other way, overlap, go back, section off the driveway, do small little squares, work it out, that you're being very systematic to make sure you cover every square inch of that driveway at least once, if not twice, in how you're doing that nail sweep. So you not only get the nails, but you find all of the little staples that are left that maybe came off your underlayment, whatever that might have been, and staple packs, things that fell out of your nail bag. When I do a nail sweep, I sweep the entire front yard. Wherever I saw the crew stop for lunch, wherever I see the crew walking back and forth to the truck, that's where things can fall out of your pockets and land on the grass. It's not enough to just nail sweep right against the house. Anywhere the crew was working, living, standing, breathing, drinking, eating, whatever it is, those paths back and forth to the truck, when the trucks leave at the end of the day, parked on the road, sweep that roadbed where they were parked. When the trailer pulls out off the driveway pad, go behind, sweep that trailer space twice, because there's always something that gets underneath the trailer, and if you don't go back and sweep it, it's gonna wind up in a client tire. They're gonna call the office, and that's not gonna be a happy conversation. So I like the 3-foot magnet. I like having my handle all the way extended so I can stand upright. I like having a bucket near me that I can throw the debris into as I get too many in my hand. And I like having either road cones or some pieces of pipe, something that can reach and grab and move without having to bend down to the ground and pick it up. And that allows me to help keep track when I'm doing broader areas that don't have landmarks like trees and bushes that I can use to reference. So if I was doing this driveway, I might start with the wheels against the grass. I'm gonna set my pipe where that wheel is. Say maybe that's where I'm gonna stop. Well, I'm gonna turn around. I'm gonna move that mark to the other side so I know where my wheel mark was. I'm gonna go back aiming for this piece of pipe here. Now I'm gonna pick this up, spin this the other way, put this right here where this wheel is, and now I'm gonna aim for that one. And now I'm aiming for this one. And you can just repeat that process. Now, obviously, if I was doing this for the whole driveway, I'd work the whole driveway at once, or I'd get down to the parking pad, and then I'd break the parking pad up into a couple of like 10 by 10 squares and start working each of those. Let's do an example of what we're gonna do in the front yard. So I know that our crew sat and had lunch under that tree over there. I know that we dragged the finished tarps after they were dumped in the trailer back up across the lawn to get folded to put in the trucks. You'd be surprised how many nails I find up here, because sometimes we don't think, the crews don't think to sweep in the area of the yard that's not right up next to the house, down where we were actually doing the work. So if we want to make sure that we sweep not only up against the house and the bushes where things come off the roof, but also where things could have transitioned or gotten dropped on the way back and forth to the truck out of our pockets. And I'm going to use the same technique. I might use, like I said, an orange road cone, a kid's soccer cone, or this is some 4-inch pipe and it happens to stand up not too bad on its own. I can drop my pipe right there, come back and aim towards my first one. Now this nail didn't actually stick to the magnet, it just went underneath and clicked. If I hadn't stopped and looked for it to find it, when I got to the end of the run to stop to clean off the bottom of the magnet, I wouldn't have found it. It would have still been in the yard. So every time you hear a click, stop, find that nail, put it in your bucket, and then keep moving. The more systematic you are about how you sweep the yard and doing the entire yard, not just randomly around in front of the area where things fell off the roof, you're gonna be more likely to get rid of all of the nails, or at least most of them. You're less likely for the customer to find one in their lawnmower tire or in their pet's foot, heaven forbid, or their child finds it. We've cleaned up job sites with different crews that we've had where I've had over 200 nails left behind, which is just unacceptable. I've had crews we get it down to 100, get it down to 50. The crews that get down to 20, those are the stellar, outstanding, amazing crews. When I can't find more than 20, nails, I don't really count all the staples and things, but if I can't find 20 roof nails in the process of cleaning up the whole yard, and I do the whole yard, I check into the neighbor's yard, I'm checking to make sure that no debris has blown against the neighbor's house, into the neighbor's gardens on both sides, across the street. Nobody wants a messy roofer. Nobody wants the reputation of being a messy roofer. They're not gonna hire us, they're not gonna call us back. So if we want more jobs, if we want more work, we have to be the cleanest roofer around. That's why we put up the nets over the bushes that allows the bushes to breathe, doesn't burn them, but protects those gardens from the debris and things that comes off the roof. That's why we clean the gutters. So we try to leave things cleaner than we found it in that regard. And that's why I do a total perimeter search all the way around of anything that could have possibly blown away. And I don't want to find anything. I expect our crews, I expect our teams to find that stuff before I get there. So let's just talk about this nail that I found bent, used, way up here at the top of the yard. How did it get that far from the house? And did our crew, when they did the nail sweep, did they come all the way up the yard, all the way to the street where the trucks were parked, and sweep the entire front yard with a double pass magnetic pass? If not, if they did, how did we still find it? So we want to make sure that anywhere that we've walked, anywhere that we've stopped for lunch, anywhere that we've sent our tool bags down, that we are mopping all of those areas, covering all those areas with that magnetic fail sweep. And I like to go in both directions. Go one way, all the way, up and down, up and down, up and down, very systematically, stopping every time you hear a click, making sure the wheels are set at the right height, and keeping your eyes open for paper, plastic, debris, making sure all those little plastic strips that sometimes get stuck to the wrong side of the tar, and you got to make sure you peel it off so the shingles will actually adhere. All those little plastic strips got picked up, any tar paper got picked up that blown away, anywhere that this could have gotten away from the house. And then it's really important to make sure that we've sort of policed the area and checked, the neighbors. So I'm going to do a mail sweep all across the road, because I don't want a neighbor driving by and saying, I got to nail my tire from your job site. We don't want that. I'm going to check across the street. I'm going to make sure nothing blew over here into any of this area where that neighbor's going to find it and be upset. We want to come down, they've got a beautiful garden down here. This is all downhill. So we want to make sure that none of our debris, none of our trash, none of that adhesive, the plastic stuff that goes on the bottom of the ice and water shield to keep it from sticking to itself, that when that comes off the roof, none of those scraps. Those things travel forever. Shingle bags travel really far, and those little plastic strips that keep the tar in place. So we want to come down and just double check the neighbor's yard underneath this tree here, check the front of their gardens, make sure that we didn't lose anything in that. I'm going to come along and check, right behind the air conditioner, make sure nothing got over here. Of course, we covered the air conditioner for our client with one of those mesh tarps. If you're going to cover it with a real tarp or a canvas thing, we got to make sure they turn that off so they don't burn the unit up. Check the bottom of the downspouts. If anything came down the downspouts, we got to make sure that we pick up all the debris that might be down in here, and in the nails. I can't tell you how many times I have a cluster of nails at the bottom of a downspout when we're finished, because we blew the gutters out, but we didn't bother to clean it up from the bottom. We were done. Any debris blowing over here into this neighbor's yard, we don't want to get a bad reputation with the neighbors because they weren't happy with the mess and the debris that we left behind. So we got our lower trees here. We want to check all this, check in through here, and we're just looking for those scraps that blew away. We want to be known as that clean roofing company that leaves it better than we found it in every regard. That means if the gutter's a little bit dirty, we're going to clean it out. We're going to make it nice. If the gutter spikes get loose or pop out while we're doing stuff, or maybe they're loose existing, let's tighten them up. Do we need to add a hidden hanger to that system to make sure it's going to stay in place? So we're going to check all this area down here. Is it possible that roof debris came off the roof and landed here? Not likely. However, our cleanup crew was driving wheelbarrows through here. Is it possible something came out of the wheelbarrow on the way up the yard? Absolutely. So we need to make sure that we're nail sweeping all of those areas as well in a very systematic up and back pattern, and then checkerboard it the other direction. So we've covered it both ways. Make sure we didn't miss anything. And like I said, I like using markers so I can keep track of where I've been. Even those fiberglass stakes for snow plowing, for marking where your driveway is a great tool for keeping track of where you've been when you're covering a long area or a big yard. That way you can know. So we covered this bush with some netting. We put some netting over some of these plants, and they did a nice job of cleaning up all through here. But we want to make sure that all this little debris, that little pieces of plastic, don't get left behind, that we're picking this up. Customers paying for a clean roof job, we want to give them a clean roof job that's not going to leak. Now that also means that we got to double check some of those flashings sometimes. If there's some existing flashing around a chimney, is it adequate? Is there kick out? Is it shedding water away from the siding, or is it dumping water behind the siding? That's something we got to check before we put that roof back together, because once we put that roof on, now we own that problem. So we got to make sure that we have covered all of those bases. And in this particular roof application, we put netting over the fish pond here, but over in this particular particular application, there was no kick-out flashing on the top of this, and we can clip to that video and we'll show you that real quick here. So we had no kick-out flashing on this, which wasn't existing, but we're putting the roof on. We ought to take responsibility to make sure that that's corrected before it goes back together. And we also noticed a little bit of a challenge here. There's no cricket where that upper roof comes into the backside of this chimney, and it made me nervous. So I opened up the siding just to see how the flashing was, and what I found disturbed me. So I know we just want to quickly get this roof on and get it back together, but at the same time, we got to look for those other areas where all of a sudden it's going to become our responsibility, and we're going to wind up owning that damage if we don't point it out, if we don't find it when it occurs. So be looking for these sorts of problem areas. The other thing, of course, we always want to check is those corner posts on the bottom of dormers, making sure that these aren't so tight down to the roof that water can't escape underneath these corner posts. So the J-stone's going to the backside. Do we need kick out there? That this soffit material isn't in so tight to the roof that it's not allowing the water that's coming down the backside to come past. I actually had to clip this one back a little bit to make sure that we were able to get water underneath because it was a little tight to the roof and we were worried about debris piling up inside of that soffit. It's kind of a poor design from the original, but without taking everything apart there, it's not something we can easily redo. But we wanted to make sure at least we're not funneling more water up into that soffit where it can get directed into the house. So checking all those corners, all those problem areas, and making sure that as we're putting these roofs back together, that we've kind of looked for all the areas that we know where siding and roof wall interfaces meet, that we've made any corrections that need to be made. We've hammered those gutter spikes back in. We've left the gutters cleaner than we found it. And at the end of the day, when we're completely cleaned up, there isn't a nail left in this yard that the customer's going to find. I tell them they might find 4, but you're not going to find 20. Because if they find 20, they're not going to be happy with us, and they're going to say negative things about us to their friends and to their neighbors. I was just at a customer's house bidding a completely separate job, this sort of a basement bar top area for them, and he was lamenting to me about this bigger company that had multiple trucks, all lettered up, decaled up, and how he was willing to pay a premium because he thought they were going to do a better job, and he was shocked at how disgusting and messy they left his yard and how many nails he found after they were done. And he's telling me, another contractor, that story. So what's he telling to his friends, to his families, and to his neighbors? We want to be known as the clean roofer, that when we're done, that it's cleaner than when we got there, and that you don't have to worry about finding nails and debris and sharp objects that are going to puncture your car tires, your lawnmower tires, injure your kids, injure you, injure your pets. So let's recap with the nail magnet here. It doesn't pick up aluminum. You've got to make sure it's adjusted low enough to pick up whatever you're getting, and it really helps if the customer cuts their grass before we get there to start, so we're not picking up through 5 inches of lawn. Be very systematic. Up and back, up and back, up and back. Mark your spot as you go and cover the entire area where we have traversed or mats have been dragged. Don't just do the area right in front of where we were working. There's nails all the way up to the street and back. You got to do the whole yard. Anywhere that we've walked, we need to run that nail magnet across. So be systematic, and then every time you hear a click, stop, find that nail that you heard, take it off, put it in your bucket, and then keep going. Because if you wait till you hear 10, 20 clicks and then you go to clean it off or pull the bar and drop it onto a tarp or something, you've left at least a third of them behind somewhere in the lawn. Not good. So this is Drew for Cope Construction and Renovation here in southern Chester County, Pennsylvania. That's a little bit about how to do a proper nail sweep of a yard and clean up when we're all said and done at the end of a project. Hopefully that helps you if you're on our crew. If you're another contractor, hopefully this is something you can use to help train your guys. If you're a homeowner, this is what goes into a proper nail cleanup, and maybe you want to ask your roofing company how they're going to clean up, and listen for some of these tips in the stuff that they're telling you. If they're not telling you that stuff, you're going to have a messy yard when it's done. If we can solve a problem for you, roofing, siding, windows, doors, decks, kitchens, basements, bathrooms, plumbing, electrical, drywall, spackle, paint, build your custom dream house, an addition, a garage. Take a picture of what's bugging you. If it's on the outside, corner to corner, grass to sky, send it to us right here on our Facebook page. Click that contact us, message us button there at the top. Send us those photos along with all your contact details. We have a dedicated office staff standing by to answer your calls weekdays, 9:30 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon at 484-748-0008. Choose option 2 for CopeBUILT, your full service construction and renovation company, and extension 2 for new projects. CopeBUILT is your full service construction and renovation company and a registered Pennsylvania home improvement contractor number 88078, also licensed in Newcastle County, Delaware. If you're watching here on Facebook, leave a comment, a question down below. We'd love to hear from you. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Hit that thumbs up. Let YouTube know that you found this content valuable. That helps us, of course, with the algorithm, because we want our videos to show up in your feed so that you can learn the tips that you're going to need to know when you're interviewing contractors for work around your forever home. Remember, when we're finished with it, you're going to be proud to say it's not just done. It was CopeBUILT. We'll catch you in the next edition of Forever Home. Bye for now.